The sun blazed overhead like a spotlight in the cloudless desert sky. A dusty wind whispered through the crumbling gravestones of Sad Hill Cemetery, a place where the dead were stacked higher than the secrets buried beneath them. It wasn't just a graveyard. It was an arena, and the final act was about to begin. Blondie, the quiet, sharp-eyed gunslinger known for his icy nerves and even colder aim, stood at the edge of a massive stone circle, shaped like an ancient arena. Across from him stood Tuco, the wild-eyed bandit with a temper as explosive as his gun. And lurking like a shadow to the side was Angel Eyes, dressed in black, with a look that could curdle blood. All three men knew what was at stake. $200,000 in Confederate gold buried beneath the grave marked unknown. The tension was a living thing. Not a word was spoken. Blondie's hand hovered near his holster. Tuco fidgeted, eyes darting between the other two. Angel Eyes didn't move a muscle. His eyes locked on both men like a vulture circling the dying. The wind picked up. A tumbleweed rolled across the circle, bouncing lazily as if mocking the silent storm building between these killers. Above it all, Ennio Morricone's haunting score swelled in the background, not in the world, but inside the audience's veins. The strings trembled, the flute cried, time stretched. In this moment, nothing else in the world existed but the three men, their guns, and the grave that held a fortune. The circle was ancient and cracked, but it might as well have been carved yesterday for this moment. The three men, Blondie, Tuco, and Angel Eyes, stood equidistant, each one marking a corner of fate. The dusty silence around them grew louder by the second. Not a bird chirped, not a leaf rustled. The only sound was the low, trembling hum of suspense. Blondie's gaze was ice, calm, calculating. His poncho danced slightly with the wind, but his hand remained steady at his side. He didn't blink. His eyes cut between Tuco and Angel Eyes like a blade, as if solving a puzzle in real time. Every second that passed, he measured them. The twitch of Tuco's lip, the gleam of sweat on Angel Eyes' temple, the way each man breathed. Blondie wasn't just watching them, he was reading them like a book written in gunpowder and nerves. Tuco, by contrast, was a storm in human skin. Sweat ran down his face as his chest rose and fell with nervous intensity. His eyes flitted, left, right, left again. He was desperate to survive, desperate to grab that gold, desperate not to be the first to fall. He adjusted his grip on his pistol ever so slightly, trying to prepare for whatever lightning would strike first. But he was at a disadvantage. He didn't know one crucial truth that Blondie kept hidden beneath his calm. Then there was Angel Eyes, silent, still, like a loaded trap waiting for pressure. His black hat cast a shadow over his eyes, but nothing could hide the murderous intent within them. He didn't move an inch. He simply waited for the perfect moment, like a cobra ready to strike. The camera circled the three like a hawk. Close-ups captured every twitch of muscle, every bead of sweat, every heartbeat that pounded like drums in the audience's chest. The music surged higher, each note like the ticking of a bomb. The viewers weren't just watching, they were caught inside the standoff, pulled into a world where even the tiniest movement could unleash hell. And then, silence. No music, no sound. Just three fingers hovering near triggers. The grave-marked unknown waited patiently in the center of the circle, like a throne for the victor or a tomb for the defeated. It was a test of nerves, of skill, of fate, and the moment to act was coming. The silence broke with a thunderclap. A single shot cracked the air, fast, precise, merciless. Angel Eyes staggered, His eyes widened in shock, his pistol still holstered. For a heartbeat, he looked as if he might fire, but it was too late. His knees buckled, and he dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. Dust kicked up as his body slammed into the dry ground of the cemetery, arms sprawled, eyes staring blankly into the unforgiving sky. Blondie stood calm, his revolver still smoking in his hand. The shot had come from him too fast for the others to react, too precise for anyone but a master. He hadn't waited for hesitation. He had already decided before the standoff began, Angel Eyes was the real threat. Tuco blinked in disbelief, his hands frozen above his holster. He looked down at his gun, then at Blondie, sweat pouring down his face. He hadn't even drawn, and now Angel Eyes, the coldest killer among them, was lying dead at his feet. "Don't move," Blondie said calmly, his revolver now trained squarely on Tuco. Tuco gulped, frozen like a rabbit in front of a wolf. What is this? We were supposed to," he stammered, his fingers twitching in slow panic. "I took the bullets from your gun last night," Blondie interrupted, his voice calm as ever. "While you were sleeping." Tuco's face twisted into a grimace of both betrayal and relief. Relief that he was alive, betrayal that he had been outwitted so completely. He pulled his gun, clicked the trigger, and nothing. The cylinder spun empty. Click, click, click. The sound echoed like mockery. He threw the gun away in frustration and raised his hands, stepping back from the center of the circle as Blondie slowly approached. Blondie glanced down at Angel Eyes, ensuring the job was finished. No twitch, no breath, just death. Then he turned his full attention to Tuco, still breathing, still sweating, still very much at Blondie's mercy. And the gold? Still buried beneath the grave marked unknown. But now the odds had changed completely. Tuco's mouth was dry. His hands trembled, not from fear anymore, but from something worse, humiliation. He had been played like a fiddle again. As he stared at Blondie, standing tall with the revolver still firm in his grip, all Tuco could do was nod when Blondie gestured toward the grave. "The gold," Blondie said. "Start digging." They stood at the center of Sad Hill Cemetery, the wind picking up as if to stir the ghosts watching this final act. Tuco dropped to his knees before the headstone marked unknown, grabbed a nearby shovel, and began to dig. Dust flew into the air with every frantic scoop. His breathing turned into panting as sweat mixed with the dirt on his face. Blondie stood over him in silence, revolver resting against his chest, eyes scanning for any sudden moves. Tuco kept digging, 3 feet, 4 feet, and then the thud of metal. He froze. His eyes widened, then he dropped the shovel and clawed at the dirt with his hands like a madman. Seconds later, a large wooden coffin emerged, its surface aged and splintered. Tuco pulled it open. There it was, 8 bags of gleaming gold coins, the very fortune they had risked betrayal, gunfights, and death to find. He laughed, loud, maniacal, almost tearful. "We did it! Blondie, we—" But Blondie had already pulled out a length of rope. Tuco's laughter died on his lips. "Get up," Blondie said, "and put the noose around your neck." Tuco's face contorted into disbelief. "What are you talking about?" Blondie gestured with the gun. "The same tree you tried to hang me from, you remember it." No, Blondie, don't do this. Not now. Not after everything we—" "Move." Tuco hesitated, but then slowly rose, eyes never leaving the revolver. The grave was behind him now, the gold at his feet, and the man he'd called a friend, sometimes an enemy, always a mystery, stood in front of him with the power to end it all. The wind howled louder now. The cemetery watched. Justice, revenge, or just one more trick in a game that never ends? Only Blondie knew. Tuco stood atop the unsteady wooden crossbeam, hands bound, a noose tight around his neck. Below him, the desert floor stretched like an endless graveyard of dust and bones. His eyes darted from Blondie, now far off on the edge of the cemetery, to the bags of gold stacked beside the grave. "Blondie!" he shouted, panic seeping in. "This isn't funny anymore." Blondie didn't answer. He loaded his revolver slowly, one bullet at a time, each click echoing like thunder through the silent graveyard. Ennio Morricone's haunting score swelled in the background, that unforgettable mixture of flute, guitar, and distant cries that sounded like ghosts wailing from the hills. With a puff of smoke from his cigar, Blondie looked up at Tuco. "You see," he said, cocking the revolver, "in this world, there are two kinds of people, my friend, those with loaded guns and those who dig." Tuco flinched. The noose creaked as he shifted his weight. "Blondie! Come on, you can't leave me like this." Blondie raised his revolver. One shot rang out. The rope snapped. Tuco screamed and fell, thud, landing hard in the dirt below. He gasped, coughing up dust, then looked up in disbelief. Blondie stood there, revolver still smoking, eyes calm, just as always. Tuco rolled over and saw the bags of gold were gone, all except one. Blondie had taken his share, leaving Tuco alive, humiliated, and with a single bag to his name. From atop his horse, Blondie tipped his hat. "Adios, amigo," he said. Then, with that signature squint and slow turn, he rode off into the horizon, the gold slung over his saddle, and the music rising behind him like a sunset hymn. Tuco lay there, screaming curses, fists pounding the dirt, surrounded by tombstones and empty echoes. But Blondie never looked back. He disappeared into the dust, the last man standing in a world of betrayal, bullets, and broken men.